Very good morning on behalf of the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of the Soviet Institute of Engineering and Technology, MeitY, deemed to be university, and its Center for Informatics Development Study and Applications, and Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications, warmly welcome our distinguished speaker, Shri Satyanarayana, former Secretary to Government of India, and the participants from India and abroad for this international webinar series on open source digital technologies towards self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, 21st November 2020. Sir, under this international webinar series, these two centers of excellence, CIDSA and CITSA, have organized so far 10 lectures on the topic Open Technologies to Provision, Simple and Economical IT Infrastructure, a roadmap for students using free and open source software and reaching goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Open source software and industrial IoTs for SMEs. Free and open source software adoption and business models. Open data platform for smart digital government. Technology imperatives make in India for self-reliance. Edge artificial intelligence. Data governance for self-reliant India. Digital India transforming governance and society. India's email service, citizen at indiamail.com in 22 constitutionally recognized languages. Today, we will have the talk by an eminent and distinguished bureaucrat and technocrat of the country, Shri Satyanarayana, IAS Retd, former Secretary to the Government of India, on the very important topic, ecosystem architecture for digital transformation. Technology is the sum of techniques, skills, methods, and processes used in the production of goods and services or in the accomplishment of objectives such as scientific investigation and so on and so forth. The topics in the webinar series is a growing list. Technology imperatives, open system, open infrastructure, open source software for open infrastructure, open hardware for open infrastructure, open data platform, human resources development, startups in open technology, open society 5.0, industry 4.0, example pharma 4.0, textile 4.0, agriculture 4.0, mining 4.0, etc., etc. Edge computing, edge artificial intelligence, data governance deriving big value from big data analytics, Digital India transforming governance and society, India email service, and open digital ecosystem. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is the vision of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, of making India a self-reliant nation rested on 5 I's: intent, inclusion, investment, infrastructure, innovation, and based on 5 pillars: economy, infrastructure, systems, vibrant demography, and demand. This was announced on 15th May 2020 by the central government through a special and comprehensive economic package of rupees 20 lakh crore that accounts for 10% of India's GDP to bring the economy back on track. And our Honorable Prime Minister also gave a very clarion call on vocal for local to make it global, a demand-based economy system which is self-producing and self-consuming. The reforms announced have been systematic, planned, integrated, interconnected, futuristic for creating strong enterprises, generating employment and robust supply chain. This is our intent. Today's talk is on ecosystem architecture for digital transformation. Digital India program is the Power to Empower, is launched by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, on July 2015, is centered on 3 key areas: digital infrastructure as a utility to every citizen, governance and services on demand, and digital empowerment of citizens. It is both the enabler and beneficiary of other key Government of India schemes such as BharatNet, Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Industrial Corridors, Bharatmala, and Sagarmala. As of 31st December 2018, India had a population of about 1.3 billion people, 123 crore Aadhaar digital biometric identity cards, 121 crore mobile phones, and 44.6 crore smartphone and 56 crore internet users. And digital India is a way of life, as pronounced by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, in the recent Global Technology Summit at Bangalore. Jack Ma, the CEO of Alibaba, once he said it, our philosophy is that we want to be an ecosystem. Our philosophy is to empower others to sell, empower others to service, making sure the other people are more powerful than us. With our technology, our innovation, our partners, 10 million small business sellers, they can compete with Microsoft and IBM. As India looks to adopt the maximum of minimum government and maximum governance, the role of digital ecosystem has become paramount important. Digital ecosystem should be guided by factors of availability, accessibility, affordability, value, and trust. The platform economy is economic and social activity facilitated by the digital platforms. Digital ecosystems that will shape economics in future. Digital ecosystem management, a new discipline for the platform economy. Ecosystems allow the integration of data across a series of services. For example, a digital healthcare ecosystem comprises every touch point on the journey, privacy, security, and data governance to patient care. Starting with the digitization of documents and automation process, the scope of digitization in India has now expanded to end-to-end delivery of services and the creation of unified government portals. Push to creation of digital ecosystem is a welcome step, as it can prove to be an effective tool in overcoming governance deficit and improving quality of life for individuals. As digital technologies continue gaining adoption, they start enabling new ways of organizing how value is created. This transition means moving from value chains to digital ecosystems. However, there is a still limited knowledge of digital ecosystems, how they are created, how they work, and importantly, how organizations beyond digital giants can approach digital ecosystems. However, if the ecosystems are a new way of organizing value creation, then every organization and every entrepreneur should know how they work at a minimum to be able to better participate in them. Moving to an ecosystem model, however, can be difficult, especially for incumbent players with well-established operations. Such a model involves a different approach and, more concretely, a new set of strategies, processes, competence, and technology assets. As one of the experts suggests, it all starts with the platform. If you don't have a platform, you cannot have an ecosystem. Crucial aspects have include openness, modularity, and quality as perceived by the ecosystem. Openness means the platform allows access to platform resources via APIs, for example, enabling ecosystem participants to develop their own cases. Modularity is the key driver to developing digital ecosystem, as it enables different organizations to build complementary products or services. The Government of India is now seeking a transition to national open digital ecosystem norms, which are open and secure digital delivery platforms anchored by transparent governance mechanism, which enable a community of partners to unlock innovative solutions to transform societal outcomes. While the open digital ecosystems empowers and enable collaborations in unprecedented ways, there are many underlying challenges emanating from such interconnected digital networks that needed to be addressed. In this connection, I would like to also mention 3 policies which the Government of India, through the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, brought out. These 3 policies are policies on adoption of open source software, policies on collaborative application development by opening the source code of government applications, and policy on open application programming interfaces, open APIs. Now, Node is a GovTech 3.0, is defined as open and secure delivery platforms anchored by transparent governance mechanism, which enable a technology collaboration among citizens, business, and governments to transform digital outcomes. There are several path-breaking ODs, open digital ecosystems, already in play in India. Unified Payment Interface for financial services, CIDSA, National Digital Infrastructure for Teachers, National Urban Innovation Stack for municipal services, and similarly, an OD for agriculture is being designed by an interministerial committee. But there are challenges to be addressed. Privacy issues, federal issues may increase inequalities, security issues. The proposed national open digital ecosystem or a set of protocols and digital systems that can be used by government departments and private companies to offer services through the use and or build open standards, licenses, databases, APIs, etc., and promote interoperability. The enablers of digital ecosystem as published: application programming interface, communities of participants, spearhead products or services, continuous support functions to provide support to ecosystem participants, revenue model, governance model, and use of framework. And in 2019, an ITU thematic report also talks about digital transformation and the role of enterprise architecture. Digital ecosystem are driving digital transformation. Ecosystem architecture is a new architectural practice with an innovative approach generated by long and diverse experience. Ecosystem architecture's way of working removes the fear of construction and unforeseen issues. Innovative solutions become practical, affordable, and fit for purpose. The outcome of this approach is an effective value-adding architectural processes producing elegant and high-performance solutions. Now, let us now turn to the address of Shri J. Satyanarayana, IAS retired, our guest speaker today, on the topic ecosystem architecture for digital transformation, which will motivate and galvanize everybody watching over telecast through facebook.com/Shobit University India or youtube.com/Shobit University in, and shall result in many startups as participants of national open digital ecosystem. The present India government, Modi 2.0, is making no stone unturned to establish Society 5.0 through the Digital India platform. Now let me introduce our distinguished speaker, Shri Satyanarayana ji, to the audience. Shri J. Satyanarayana is a retired 1977 batch IAS officer of Andhra Pradesh cadre. Shri J. Satyanarayana, is a thought leader in the areas of e-governance, enterprise architecture, and digital transformation, and a pioneer in the design and implementation of e-governance projects and programs in India. Shri J. Satyanarayana has had a successful career as a civil servant for over 40 years, having held several positions at the national and state levels, including Principal Secretary, Information Technology, Special Chief Secretary, Health for the Government of Andhra Pradesh, and Secretary, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, and Chairman, Part-Time Unique Identification Authority of India. Shri J. Satyanarayana ji has made a significant contribution to the policy as well as the practice of deploying technologies innovatively in the public sector. The policies he piloted include the National Electronics Policy 2012, the National Cyber Security Policy 2013, and the Andhra Pradesh Cyber Security Policy 2017. Among the 20 plus transformational projects he led over the last 2 decades are eSeva, a one-stop shop for citizen services in the state of Andhra Pradesh, Passport Seva project for the Ministry of External Affairs, MCA 21 for the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, eThal, a portal that aggregates, analyzes, and provides a dashboard view of a e-government transaction on real time from about 300 projects and 4,000 e-services across India. And the last one is of Bangalore one. As the founder CEO of National Institute for Smart Governance, he led several capacity building programs across India. He was instrumental in the design of a number of digital architectures at the national level in India. He chaired the committees that prepared the India's enterprise architecture in 2017, Digital Services Standard 2019, and the National Digital Health Blueprint 2019. He co-chairs the task forces on designing ecosystem architecture for the ministries of agriculture, education, rural development, and of the government of India. He has been advisor to the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana, the largest health insurance scheme of the world since its inception in 2018. He currently holds the positions as a chief advisor, Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, India, World Economic Forum, and the chief advisor, National Digital Health Mission, Government of India. Shri Satyanarayana has Masters of Science in Solid State Physics from Andhra Pradesh University, and also has a Master of Business Administration from University of Ljubljana, Slovenia. He has published 2 very important books on the topic e-government, the Science of the Possible, published by Prentice Hall, India in 2003. It has been reprinted in 2007, in 2010, and 2011. And the second book is on managing transformation, the objectives to outcome, published by Prentice Hall, India, 2012. We welcome Shri Satyanarayana to this international webinar series on open source digital technology towards self-reliant India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this is being promoted by 2 centers of excellence, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, and Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications. This, it was, envisioned and established after I have retired from National Informatics Center as the Director General in May 2030. And we welcome you, and we would like to eagerly wait for your important address to the audience. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Moni. It's really my pleasure. You need to mute probably. Thank you, and really it's a pleasure to be back working with you on this webinar series. Incidentally, as Secretary, Ministry of IT, I had the privilege and pleasure of working with Professor Moni, and I'm glad that he's keeping up his pursuit of IT, especially in various sectors, and most noted being his contribution in the digital agriculture space. So I thank him for inviting me for this webinar series. So I would like to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes on sharing some of my experiences and my experiments in this space. There are 2 aspects to the theme. One is ecosystem architecture, and the other is digital transformation. So I would like to do it in 2 parts. talking about digital transformation first. What is it about and what has been done in that space? And then talk a little bit about the emerging area of ecosystem architecture. So let me share my presentation through a screen. Professor Moni, is it visible? I hope.
Is visible.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And I will first talk about the digital transformation. Before that, one of my oldest and earliest experiences, I would like the audience to see what transformation could mean. So this is the case of 1989, an experience in a district where a old pensioner did not receive pension for 6 months. Those days, the pension was 30 rupees and it was being sent by money orders. There was no internet, not much of technology. So this is the status of people suffering, not getting that pension and, so on. So contrast with that 30 years later, how is the question? The very same geography, you can call it. You can see the kind of transformation that has happened over the years in several steps. So millions of people, in fact, hundreds of millions of people across India now are getting the benefit of the digital transformation in various sectors, whether it is pensions or scholarships, and few aided by the instrument, very powerful instrument called Aadhaar, which almost all of us Indians have, and we are proud of having that asset with us. So that is the kind of transformation when a person had to walk miles to get some relief versus the benefits reaching your doorstep directly electronically. So that is the backdrop with which I would start. That I mean, also the lesson from that is that every e-governance, we used to call it e-governance, e-government those days. It is about empathy, the empathy in the pensioner, the empathy in the student who needs to get a scholarship, the empathy about people who are standing in line for getting various services. It leads to a number of innovations and initiatives. It kind of triggers our thought process. How can we remove the tedium, remove the pain in people's lives and make it better? So that has been my life's goal, and so far I have been able to add my humble bit here. Now, how is the evolution taking place in this, has taken place in the last 30 years, and for the next 20 years, what is the kind of goal? So initially it was more or less computerization, just put computers in the offices and get some efficiency in the late 80s or early 90s. From there, we went on to the concept of e-governance, which is talking about citizen centricity. How do you make it convenient for the citizen 24/7, anywhere, anytime? And then followed by with the mobile revolution, m-governance, around 2009. This caught on very well, and several services were being provided through the mobile medium. And of late, in the last few years, we're talking of digital transformation, where it's talking of innovative services and the concept of enterprise IT. Looking at the whole ministry or a department as an enterprise and look at holistic approach to providing of services. Then we have currently, this is the ongoing phase in 2020, where we're talking of agile governance and emerging technologies. Number of new technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, they're all very much vibrant at this point of time. And how we can make governance more agile with the help of all those technologies. So then going on, we are thinking, the current thought process globally is also like Professor Moni has brought out all the essential features of what an ecosystem, digital ecosystem looks like, and what are its requirements, what are the challenges. I must thank him for a very good introduction and backdrop to what I'm going to say. So it is, the ecosystem is a place where the borders between government and the private sector and NGO sector, civil society, are getting blurred. They are getting there is a fusion happening in terms of the thought process and collaboration, co-creation, and those ideas, which was not possible, not thinkable a decade ago. So this is the future is going to be in this direction, the ecosystem technologies, and maybe in another 20-25 years, or could be 30 years, what could be, I really can't imagine what kind of technologies are going to descend on the horizon. And probably the government will become invisible at that time. Not only minimal government and maximum governance is what the current thought process, as Professor Moni has said, but possibly can we have a situation where the government is not visible at all, but life goes on for the citizen with the help of a number of future technologies which we cannot imagine at this point of time. So this is the kind of a trajectory through which we have gone so far, the yellow line, and the green line is what we are kind of hoping for to bring huge difference to the humanity as we go forward. So against this backdrop, let me go forward and talk about initially about digital transformation. So the digital transformation phase through which we are going currently is a fundamental change in how an organization delivers its value. It's all about value. The concept of value is more, strongly and earlier on brought by the private sector. They work around value. What is the value that I'm proposing to my customers? That the whole thing is woven around the value, built around value. How do I maximize that value? So obviously, government, is a big part of the society today, and so we need to also think in those lines. We need to zero in on what is a value in this particular sector, in this particular ecosystem. How do I maximize that value? So and do whatever is required. Go backwards, work backwards, and see that the value is optimized for the citizen. Now, in terms of what does it take to create such a transformation, as mentioned by Moni, I was so fascinated about the word transformation that I published a book on the subject, which is called Managing Transformation from Objectives to Outcomes. You take a set of objectives and then you go on to build, change that sector, whatever it takes to give a nice feeling to the customer or the citizen. So there are several components in that kind of exercise. It's not a easy to do thing. It's a kind of a significant effort is involved in these 4 dimensions. One is the business process transformation, as you see in the pillar number 1 here. So the processes which are outmoded need to be replaced with the latest processes which are efficient and friction-free processes vis-a-vis the customer. Second is the business model itself, the way we deliver our services. Today, COVID has seen, though it is bad, a curse for the humanity, but it has really, transformed the whole the business models of so many sectors today. How services are delivered at your doorstep, and how various, things are fast-tracked today in this using the digital means as one of them, one of the instruments there. So changing the business model is really, I think it will come to stay in various sectors as a result of this. I have seen today, for instance, tourism was one of the worst affected sectors in the past. I was watching a video that they have got conducted virtual video tours of various tourist spots. No one visiting physically to those video spots, but the guide would take a a 3D kind of situation, and a virtual reality situation is creating there on the spot, and then he's showing all the and explaining all the features of that particular monument, whether it is Sanchi or Sarnath or whichever is the site. So the way the model itself is changing is what I wanted to stress. And third is the domain transformation itself, the fundamental change in the relationship between the various providers of service and various consumers of that service. That relationship being changed is also, it need to be transformed, because we are today kind of I would not say burdened, but it's a fact of life that the government departments are cast in a particular way with its own hierarchy from top to bottom, and the delivery system is geared up for decades for a physical delivery and an analog world. But when you try to use digital technologies, and more so the emerging technologies like AI and IoT, etc., the delivery system has to be changed. If you create the latest technologies and try to push it into the old delivery mechanism, then it's going to fail. It will not produce the best, obviously. So obviously, the delivery mechanism at the ground level is also to in the domain, whether it is healthcare, whether it is education, whether it is any other sector, tourism, just I mentioned. So the way you deliver the value also needs to be totally changed. And fourth is the organization's transformation, the power, devolution of powers and empowerment of the people at the ground level by keeping their proper knowledge and tools in their hand. So these four components, if we work on only one of them and not work on the remaining pillars, you're not going to produce the best results in digital transformation. Now, what are the drivers? I have already mentioned a few of them, but just to recap, one is it can be induced by technology, like for instance, the mobile, the smartphone. They have induced a lot of service changes in the service, the way services are delivered. It could be technology induced. It could be customer induced, customer expectation, what he's watching globally and what he or she is watching in the private sector and more efficient. So the customer expects more, expectations are increased, and ecosystem induced, which I am going to elaborate a little more later, that the network effect of several players joining together will produce additional value to the customer. So the ecosystem induced and innovation induced. How to kind of totally a service which did not exist a year ago, it descends on the skin and really makes a whole lot of difference to people. People's experience, kind of flexibility that we have, and the service itself is innovative. So this is the kind of certain drivers which are pushing the digital transformation with certain goals in mind. End of the day, the customer is the king, and customer is the most important factor here. We not only we need to kind of enhance the customer experience, but equally importantly, we have to see the in the age of information and data explosion, how do you ensure that the data and information is used to the advantage of the citizen, to the benefit of the citizen, to the convenience of the citizen, but not diverted in ways that will adversely affect the interest of the customer or consumer in terms of privacy and security of the information, especially. So this is the whole thing about digital transformation. Now let me step back for a minute and just see, is it one more jargon that this person is talking because it's more fashionable to talk about digital transformation rather than e-government, e-governance, etc. So what is the difference? What difference is it making, this terminology, electronic service versus digital service? Just let us step back and see. Several of the projects that we have been implementing, probably Moni and all his colleagues and me and people like me were implementing substantially in the electronics age. What is the difference? So it is digital attempts to be end-to-end service. It doesn't just pick up one fragment of the service value chain and deal it. It looks at it holistically, and it is multi-channel, omni-channel delivery is possible. You build a service once and you can avail it in 10 different ways. And third important thing is UX, user experience. It's personalized for you and you alone, localized in your own language, and a lot of anticipation, intelligence is behind it. It doesn't ask the questions time and again, and it memorizes your past transactions and past relationship, and then builds it into the delivery of the service, so that it's closer to your expectations. Then in the electronic, it was limited to applications and modules, whereas in the digital age, it is enterprise wide. Which I can relate later. And then SOA, we thought when I was launching the designing and launching eSeva, for instance, 1999, 2000, 20 years ago, SOA had just service-oriented architecture. The first versions of that had come, and we had leveraged it for the eSeva. Really, we thought we had conquered the world by putting 40 services on the same screen through using SOA with about 30, 40 departments of central, state, and local governments. At the same counter, you could get a variety of services. We had used SOA at that time, and it ruled the sector for quite some time. But now we are talking of some next generation of technology, which is completely open API based and microservices architecture, so that you are more agile and more decoupled, unbundled through the API architecture as such. Then it is currently latest technologies, MeitY, as well as now this is being replaced by ET, which is emerging technologies like AI and ML. Infinitely scalable and interoperability is inbuilt, and the waterfall type of development methods are being forgotten, and everyone is talking about agile and DevOps. So bundled together all these attributes on the right side of the chart, they make up for the digital service and lead to digital transformation. So I thought this perspective is very important. I'm not saying that these are bad. It's a question of evolution, as I showed in the graph earlier, that one could not have thought of API, for instance, when eSeva or any other passport seva projects were being designed. The API concept itself was not there. It was in the realm of research probably in those days, but it became mainstream now. So it's not that what was done with SOA is bad and what is being done with API is good. It's a question of evolution in the history of technology. So in terms of transformation, what needs to be transformed is the million-dollar question. Starting from the top, transforming of quality, transforming of government-citizen relationship in terms of various democratic principles, and how do you engage the citizens, how do you empower them, and how do you protect the data. So these are all concerns which are more issues related to democracy. How do you change the fundamentals of democracy? How do you improve upon them? The layer here is the transforming the government part of it through changing your laws and regulations and changing fundamentally. For instance, your land records is governed by age-old regulations and scattered and splintered across the country in different ways. There are different systems which have historically evolved in various parts of the country, and they date back to Todarmal days. Todarmal, had introduced a revenue system, and our base continues to be that today, unfortunately. So we need to change. I'm only giving one example. So other examples in other sectors as well. So we need to change the fundamentals of each sector, which I call the domain transformation, one of the 4 pillars in the earlier diagram. Similarly, change the civil service, the mindset of all the people right from top civil servants to people at the ground level who deliver the service to the village officers and the village agriculture officers and village, development officers and so on. And how you deliver your services in the various sectors. So these are the concerns. When you want to transform, you need to transform. You want to fundamentally change what and produce, focus on the subjects in the green boxes on the right side. Then you will have digital transformation. It's not a kind of a one-off approach. It's not a kind of a point kind of solution. It is a combination of several factors that needs to be worked on simultaneously when you're taking up an initiative. So a few principles which are top of the chart, I would say, when you're talking of digital transformation. The first and foremost is, what is the business goal? What is the domain goal? What is the goal or set of goals I want to achieve in the healthcare sector or in the education sector or in the agriculture sector? Let us be clear about those goals first. Don't talk of technology on day one. Talk of the domain needs and domain improvements and domain transformations first. So as they say, begin with the end in mind. IT is only a means. Don't talk of means on day one. Talk of ends on the day one. Be clear what you want, what difference you want to make in that sector to the common man or to the customer of that or citizen in that sector, and then work backwards. That's the very topmost principle. Second is, take a holistic view. Don't be constrained by lack of resources, lack of connectivity. Probably I can't do this, I can't do that. No. Let the scope be, you think big, but you start small and then you scale fast. That is one more principle. Be liberal in your scoping exercise. Then be clear of the architecture and standards. Very often what happens is people don't have time for, building the vision and building architecture and basing oneself on standards. No, I want to launch it tomorrow, next week. So just do something and show me the screens, show me the service. Can be done, obviously. It can be done in one day, it can be done in 1 week. But we should not shortchange the importance of architecture and standards. Because within a month, within a year, you'll come to grief if you adopt a non-standard approach and without having any kind of architecture. Then adaptive design and agile execution. You don't have to invent the entire architecture on day one. You can't. You need not draw that. You have a minimum viable architecture to begin with, and then you can go on improving it in wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, or sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, as they call the agile language. But end of the day, aim to disrupt. If you have not disrupted anything, you have not done any job at all. Better not take up that job if you have not disrupted the existing scheme of things in the ecosystem. You have to create a wave in the pond, right? So the disruption is fundamental in a positive way. I'm saying a positive disruption, which people will have a tremendous, they see a change, a sea change, as they say, right, in that particular environment. Let's not be satisfied with a marginal, nibbling at the problem here and a problem there, but make a splash, make a big impact. Disrupt is what is one principle. We have that lateral thinking. How can I make a difference? How can I disrupt the existing scheme of things? Disruption means you are going to displease a number of vested interests. Yes, that is required. I have written, read about it, and I wrote also in those 2 books that Professor Moni mentioned on somewhere, that if you have not tread on the toes of at least X number of people, you have not done a good job. You have to tread on people's toes, if you have to produce something good. If everybody is happy in the world, probably there's no need for this intervention at all, right? Yeah. Then let me step back a little bit again, and what is it that's happening? Okay, We are at it for 30 years, as I showed in the initial graph. So I just want to go online and show to those who have not already seen this. Professor Moni has, in an introduction, mentioned about one of my projects. I still like this project 10 years after it has been done. So I'll just take a second to show. This is called ETHAL. You can, I hope, Professor Moni, can you see the screen? Professor Moni?
It is not coming. It is only your
Okay.
PowerPoint is visible.
No. Okay, I will just stop share and again share, possibly. Let me share it once more, then it will come. Let me just reduce this. Give me half a second. Sorry for because I'm not very familiar with this tool as such, and sometimes it gives a little bit of a problem. Where is this whole icon gone? Okay, it is here. Okay, let me share again.
Otherwise, you forward this to me. I will ask.
Yeah. Let me just see here. Let me just see here. Is it now visible?
Coming. It's coming now.
Okay. So this is called ETHAL, which he has mentioned. You can see it live. About 4,000 services across the country being displayed here, aggregated on a real-time basis. You can see across the whole country. So since 1st January 2020, it is 58 billions, in roughly about close to 11 months. And you can see the counter is changing by tens of thousands as I'm talking, or thousands at least, as I'm talking. So this is anywhere, any digital transaction happening, any digital payment, digital land record, or any it includes electronic services also. From Kerala to Kanyakumari, Kerala to Kashmir, for instance. Anything happening is displayed here within a span of about 10 to 20 seconds. It is added up here. And you can see why I'm showing this is we should be able to measure to be able to manage something, as they say in the management jargon. So this is an instrument we created in 2012. I think Professor Moni was Deputy DG at the time in the NIC. Together, this is NIC product as such, as you can see here. So all the electronic digital initiatives in the whole country are displayed here, accumulated, and you can see that the kind of graphs we have here. What are the various departments which are contributing to this, and which are the states that are leading. All the real-time statistics as of this minute. This is what is happening. Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat and Telangana and Kerala, etc. Historically, UP was at position 28 or 29 in the whole country, but today they are in the top 5. See, healthy competition happens between the various states in providing digital services, and a number of reports and all kinds of statistics. Where are the services being delivered more efficiently and more? All those statistics are available here. One can, at your own time, you can just explore this ETHAL, which gives a window on the whole country, what is happening. See, you can see how the trajectory it is, the growth of the transactions. You can just see here, it's always on the rise, right? Over the last few years. You can see we started in 2012 somewhere, and it's going on and on and on to 58 billions currently. So I thought of, it may be motivational for all of us that we in India are doing such a good stuff. My own take is that this 58 billion, when can I say that, we have done a good job? So my assessment is this should be 1 trillion. That means 1,000 billion. So we are just around 60, clocking 60 per annum, 60, 65 billion. But almost another 15 times potential exists today compared to this, what we have done. That much potential exists today. But still, this is something to talk about. It's not, trivial that we have have come this far. And mind you, several countries, when I show this, they are amazed. How are you able to kind of show the whole country in one slide? So I thought of sharing this tool to you as a. So let me go back to my earlier screen, and I hope it was visible, Professor Ital. No, not now. Earlier.
It was very much visible.
Okay, now I'll go back to the presentation.
Yeah, that's.
It'll take half a second for me to again go back to the presentation. So yeah, so I hope I'm back, Professor, to where I was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me just talk about two specific programs very quickly, then we'll have a brief break for some interaction once I speak about Aadhaar. So these two everybody knows, but some facts and figures I thought will be contextually useful. And second one, another major initiative which is ongoing currently, which is called National Digital Health Mission. I had the opportunity and privilege to be chairman of Aadhaar for about 3 years till last year, and also currently chairing the I'm chief advisor to the National Digital Health Mission since its inception. So let me spend a little bit on this. Aadhaar is basically an instrument for digital inclusion, a platform. Like Professor Moni said, platform is very important. In the space of digital identity ecosystem, this is a platform for digital identity. For people who never had an identity in the past, it is providing a distinct identity currently, right? Unique, which is also unique identity. No two Indians will have the same Aadhaar number, and which is distinguishable by biometrics. Easily, one cannot easily duplicate this kind of identities, unlike several other identities in the past, because the biometrics are unique to a person, that despite the fact that we have issued 1.27 billion Aadhaars, there is no duplication, because the God has created us each with such uniqueness. Each individual is unique. That is proven even philosophically, that that we're all unique individuals. So this is and then authentication online within 7 to 10 seconds or less than around 5 seconds. The authentication happens from anywhere in India based on the either fingerprint or iris or OTP based authentication. So I've taken this snapshot yesterday without having to go online again, which shows that nearly 1.27 billions have been enrolled so far, 1.269, and so many updates have happened, 155 million, and 48 billion authentications have happened so far, and 8.6 eKYC, where not only the authentication, but the basic customer data is also returned to the user agency. So 8.7 billions roughly. So you can see that in April, May, why I'm showing this is just to show the dip in April 20 and May 20, where there is a significant dip for obvious reasons. When COVID hit us, we had to really be very, very careful. Everything was shut down, lockdown, and more so the authentications which happened using fingerprint. People were dead afraid of the contamination going on from person to person. So there was a tremendous reduction here, almost zero level it reached in April this year and started picking up. Now you can see that this is the resilience that we have got as a country. See, Aadhaar, this is Aadhaar generation, Aadhaar updates, everything got a hit almost bottom level in the month of April and May and started picking up. Updates also are increasing, to pre-COVID days. Every figure is exceeding pre-COVID days, right? So like we are returning to normal, so to say. And the next screen is very important. How many people are using in India? How many people are using Aadhaar every day, every month? You can see again March, May, there was a dent because of lockdown, and very soon it picked up and maintained the same tendency. Roughly 3 crore people, as you can see, 104 crore transactions in this month of say October or September, which is about roughly 3.3 crores every day. 3.3 crore transactions are happening. People are using Aadhaar, and some of them are using it for KYC purposes also. So while there was a dip in April in both, again it has hit new high by June and maintaining some level thereafter. So these two just want to reassure that because of our resilience, if only we had we did not have Aadhaar, can't imagine how many pensions would have been stopped, how many scholarships would have been stopped, how many MNREGA works would have been stopped for want of alternative. So it's all going on business as usual because of the resilience we got through Aadhaar. And these are the various use cases like rations going on, pensions are going on, scholarships are being given, rural employment, and several other hundreds of schemes which use Aadhaar for social good, despite COVID. That's what I'm trying to say. So before I go on to the National Digital Health Blueprint, I've been talking for almost 20 to 30 minutes now. So before I go to the next part, I would like to take a break here and request Professor Moni to moderate a little bit, and yeah, we can.
Sir, it was very nice that you are able to bring out a span of 30 years before 2020 and another 30 years after 2020. It is, as an expert, what as a bureaucrat and as a technocrat, and the way in which you have brought out these 60 years of the as a time series, and also you have very nicely said it that you talked about drivers and also the digital transformation, which how it is going to take place. But the thing is that you have missed one area where there has to be a large scale changes in the way in which information technology is being taught to the students. This is unless when I said it that until you don't have unless you have a platform, there is no ecosystem. But our computer science education has to get up, and unless the at least the triple ITs, which have been established exclusively for information technology, they also cannot be like run-of-the-mill type educational institutions. You gave a very good clarion call that in 2050, how it will be. It will be an invisible government. And what a futuristic technology. Now you have given a an action plan that unless the national institutes of eminence take care of this queries very importantly. I think all the achievements which we are making, all the fundamentals which we are creating it, technology will overtake the whole world, and there actually you have given a prophetic vision that it is going to be an invisible government. It will be society 5.0 and above. And there will be a zero footfall in government department, but there will be an invisible government. But in order to make the invisible government, what type of technologies we are going to develop from India? Are we going to buy technology, or we are going to develop technology? This is a very important call which you made it, which is going to be a very important thing for the educational institution. When you talked about the principles of digital transformation, that you said it align IT objectives to business goals. That does our management institutes give importance for IT? If you see the curriculums, it has to go for changes. When I initiated the MBA programs in agribusiness management studies, I gone through all the MBA curriculums in agribusiness, which are being given by the prominent institutions. They don't even teach IT. They don't even teach a decision support system used to technologies. Now, all the digital transformation which you talked about for society, it has to be taught very effectively in the educational institution, be it engineering, be it management, be it in other technology, institutions, and so on and so forth. So rather than you are given a visionary talk for, I thought that I wanted to have it for rural youths because now I'm dedicated to the rural youths, but you have gone one step ahead. That these educational institutions have to bring out technology changes in their education, even though new education policy talks about it. But how it is going to be adopted? Shall we adopt with the technology purchased, or we have to have a homegrown technology to be developed? So I think this is, and then you also said it, I'm very happy. We interacted, and I still remember what you talked in Hyderabad when I came as for regional conference on e-governance standards, when I was holding it, that when I talked about it, that all websites should have the signature of the secretaries of the concerned department. That yes, my department goes by my signature on the web portal. You agreed to that, and next day Indian Express came out with statement that from April onwards the web portals websites will have the signature of the secretaries to the departments. So you said that be bold in setting up the scope. Which I have seen it. We worked together, and then focus on architecture and standard. You also very clearly said it, that if you don't go for standards within another 1 year, whatever the systems which you develop, it's going to be useless. And adaptive design and agile execution. And you also very nicely said it. You aim to disrupt like anything. That is as a principle that if you want to do horse riding, that you kick. And if you are able to kick it, the horse knows that the gentleman will ride it. Otherwise, the horse will kick you out. That the person cannot even get to do that. So these are all the 5 management principles which you have given for as a principle for digital transformation, even though which has been included in your book, which is published in 2010. and it has to be prescribed as a book for in computer science department, business management, management institutes, and so on and so forth. And this is also, I'm going to make it as a very big recommendations, because when you talk now, as the Prime Minister said it, digital India is a way of life. It is now, your talk has given that it is digital transformation, and it has to go in an organized manner, that it is not looking back. And these 5 principles are very important. And then also your transformation agenda, which you talked about, categorized into 2: transforming democracy. We talked about 5 areas very nicely, and then transforming government. And you even talked about up to the village offices. That is a very important thing. Many people don't even think below district. If the delivery, you also very nicely said it, the delivery, if it is in analog mode, how the technology is going to be, helpful. And also talked in your example in 1989, what was the scenario with the district, and now 2020. It was on some of the things that which are all, for the, educational institutions has to look into it. This is happening in the government. It has happened by the government. It has happened for the people. And, why our education system is not looking into it? Why the, research work is not being done? Why the outreach research is not even being done in this digital transformation? It's very important. And I am very happy that when you given the evolution of pre 2020 30 years, and now post post 2020 30 years, it is going to be, we should see that what we have achieved, and we should see what we should achieve. And if there is a problem, then the country will face a problem. And this is the vision, which you have talked about it. And as from the university, and from the participants, and from the students, and also and my behalf, that I have learned a lot from today's your presentation, your address, very effectively. And thank you very much for your approach.
No, thank you. Now I'll spend, with your permission, another 10 minutes on the next 30 years. What is the scope of things to come? So I have a little thing to add in the presentation. Should I go forward for another 10 minutes?
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, thanks very much for the intro. Yeah, for the moderation. So let me just spend a little bit on shape of current things and shape of things to come. I hope screen is again visible, Professor, just for validation.
It is visible.
Now I'll speak about one ongoing project, which is going to be ecosystem based, an illustration of that, and also a generic version of ecosystem. Principles of ecosystem I will talk about. So this National Digital Health Blueprint, the Government of India constituted a committee last year, 2018 end, and we gave the report in October 2019 on this, creating this blueprint, and was approved in May this year by the Government of India and announced by the Honorable Prime Minister on the Independence Day. So the health sector is kind of, every sector is unique, but this has more specially unique features, like it's personal. Health of every person is personal, just like our fingerprints are, and it is universal. There is public and private both participating in a big way, and you need a continuum of care. It's not as if you can take care of health one day and relax. It's a continuum of care needed. Technology intensive, whether in terms of the various diagnoses that happen or otherwise, and vast scope from birth to death. The number of specialties, super specialties, ultra super specialties. It's a very complex and large sector. So what we have to design is an ecosystem, and not a number of systems. So that is the thesis on which we have proceeded for designing the blueprint. So in this actually 4 pillars again. Number 1 is the federated architecture, is the base of the whole thought process for national digital health blueprint or effort. Health identifier is one of the federated. Why I'm saying is in a federal country like ours, where center has certain presence in the healthcare, but substantially the states and the private sector have also great presence. NGOs have some presence in the health sector also, and academic institutions. So a unified or a monolithic architecture is totally not workable at all. So from day one, we went on this federated architecture and articulated it in the document. Then key things are health identifier, so that each person. Some people keep asking me, why do you invent one more identifier? We have Aadhaar already, which is so robust and which I have explained earlier in the earlier slides. But for various reasons that impact on privacy and the need for individual confidentiality of all the information that is to be read, and also the constitutional provisions regarding identifiers. You can't use Aadhaar for anything and everything. So after a lot of deliberation, this has been a health identifier separately has been proposed. And electronic health record is the key instrument in the whole thing. The longitudinal record of a citizen or a patient, irrespective of where he or she goes for treatment across public, private sector hospitals or institutions. So it's all pieced together into one record. And abroad, of course, it has taken 30 years for countries like USA, and they say they are still not very comfortable with where they are. So we are trying to jump the gun, leapfrog, and go to electronic health record straight away in this exercise. So we have the advantage of being late, obviously. And standards, which I mentioned earlier, number of standards it's an ocean of standards in this domain, health domain itself. How do you qualify a patient? What attributes do you have to collect and maintain? And how for each discipline, like for cancer, for TB, for diabetes, terminology is different. How do you get a doctor in Bihar understands the same way as the doctor in Kerala, for instance, when the record is shown or displayed. So the machine to machine, how it's possible, unless you follow the standards like FHIR. Currently we have zeroed in on a few standards like FHR, Fast Health Interoperability Resources, then SNOMED CT, ICD 9, and LOINC. So some of these standards we have specified in the document, and in the implementation also they are being followed. Then security and privacy, there are standards for it, specially made for the health sector as such. So this is a very high level view of the entire ecosystem, how you can kind of weave the ecosystem, how do you promote the ecosystem, how do you enable it to evolve. The idea is not for the government to build the whole building that is seen here. It is to enable several players to build the whole thing in different parts, right? So that is the philosophy of this, and this is a one-slide view of a multi-tier architecture. Certain bare minimum things are built and maintained at the national level. I will not go into details. You can review the presentation. And certain things are done at the state or sub-national level, and some only at the hospital level. I'll give one example, like EMR, electronic medical record, will be a system of record with the hospital which has created that record, or with the health PHC which has created that record, or any tertiary hospital or secondary hospital that has created that record. But others who need it for various purposes will be accessing it through a link. But the basic record, MRIs, HRIs, everything will be residing here. So that is the basic philosophy of federated architecture we have created, and All these are building blocks. For about 30 plus building blocks are there. About 8 of them are being currently built in there as a minimum viable architecture we are putting together as I'm talking at this point of time. Say, like for instance, it was approved in May and announced by Honorable Prime Minister in the Independence Day speech on 15th of August. And the policy is at an advanced stage. We have put it to public comments and received almost 3,000 comments on how the data is to be managed, how you protect the citizens' data. Because my health data is personal to me, and no one else probably in the family also should probably sometimes should know. So that being the case, we have created this policy, and it's at an advanced stage of approval and notification, and then being implemented in 6 union territories currently, and it may take about 3 to 4 months for us to get the first results of to the citizen. And 4 building blocks have been developed out of the diagram I have shown: the health ID, the facility ID, the Digi Doctor, and how do you register the doctors, and web EMR. They are all based on open technologies and open platforms. So, which Professor Moni stressed so much in his introductory remarks. So that is about health, but let me generalize now for next 5-7 minutes on the main theme of the talk, which is ecosystem architecture for digital transformation. When you talk of ecosystem, cheese kya hai? What is this strange terminology you are putting now? So why do you need now talk of ecosystem? The context is that the functional, departmental, and organizational boundaries are blurring, as between public and private, as between center, state, and local, as between NGO and voluntary organizations. It's all getting blurred today. And COVID also has made it more blurred as of now. Second is end-to-end customer service is the goal now. Felt need to fulfillment, as I called it. Then digital transformation is, which I spoke about. And then the descent of so many emerging technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain, VR, etc., biotechnology, innovation, and disruptive business models. Well, there is complementarity and competition, cooperation plus competition between various players. These are the kind of requirements of a ecosystem, right? The drivers, I would say, of ecosystem to be thought of, which is bigger than government, bigger than private sector, bigger than central government, bigger than state government, and bigger than local hospital. It is, a harmonized way of looking at the whole health ecosystem as such. So this is only an elaboration of what I mentioned, that you have to redefine, you have to expand your mind a little bit to understand the ecosystem approach. Now, it is a definition, formal definition is given here: a distributed, not centralized, a distributed. Adaptive means not, cast in steel, but adaptive. It goes on with the evolution of needs and evolution of technologies. It adapts itself. And then open, very important. These 3 characteristics are there for a digital ecosystem. It is a socio-technical system. It's not a technology alone. It's not a social system alone. It's a combination. It's a hybrid animal between sociology and technology. And properties of self-organization. Nobody is giving a diktat sitting in Delhi or sitting in Hyderabad or elsewhere. It is self-organized, scalable infinitely for 1.2 billion population, and sustainable in terms of various factors, economic sustainability and legal sustainability and various other factors. So a digital ecosystem has to have these 6, 3 on this side and 3 on this side, 6 essential characteristics. So whatever you are building, you wet it against these 6 principles. Is it satisfying these 6 principles? Okay, go ahead. Otherwise, stop and think. Then a little elaborate version is that since no single organization is going to be asked to build an ecosystem, you can't build an ecosystem. It has to evolve by itself, right? So a set of enablers, some motivation factors like incentives and rewards and opportunities, and certain relationships needs to be, and the technological elements like architecture, governance, and so on. So a combination of this, you put you set up the rules of the game. Maybe as a government, maybe as a consortium, maybe as a partnership, maybe as an alliance. You define these rules, put them on the road, and then let the entrepreneurs and players and the hospitals, etc. In the case of agriculture, in the case of health, maybe in the case of agriculture, a different set of players, the supply chain players, the seed, dealers, etc., etc. So different set of players come in different sectors, but the kind of concept remains the same. You enable, you don't try to build the whole thing yourself. You will collapse. You will not achieve much. Is the philosophy I'm driving through this slide. So this is a very meta structure, very high level structure of a digital ecosystem where only certain core minimum systems are kept in the, like a few registries and some basic security and information exchange, like a telephone exchange. How does your Airtel talk to a Vodafone? We don't need to know, obviously, but we can talk, right? Because of the exchange mechanism, standards based exchange mechanism. And certain minimal things, capabilities you keep in the middle, like the search capability, open APIs, certain directories which everybody needs, a repository for any reference material you want to see, and a set of federated ID. In the case of health, I explained the meaning there. So idea is that whatever is barest minimum, you keep it in the middle for the partners, who can be government, who can be public, who can be academic, who can be NGOs. They will all dip into these available standards, conform to those standards, and build their own systems so that they become interoperable by default, right? By design. So this is what, and this is a very quick example of an elaboration of the core that I mentioned earlier, how the exchange looks like. And there are only information providers on one side and information consumers on the other side. So, and this acts only enables them to shake hands. Okay, he is the right provider. Is a genuine provider of information who is registered one time with me, and then I will is a genuine user. So I'll allow them to shake hands, and they allow them to exchange the information. I don't listen to, or I'm blind to what they are exchanging, what information they are exchanging. I just enable, like a telephone exchange can't hear what you and I are talking on the cell phone. So same thing will be followed here. And a number of applications, whether it is in the private, public, value-added, innovative, all those services will ride on the basis of this basic principle. So there is a lot of elbow room and degrees of freedom for innovation here in this system. So this is a high-level view, and as I'm talking, we have got already digital ecosystems in the digital ID space in the form of Aadhaar, digital payments in the form of UPI, health, which I explained, and education and agriculture. It's an advanced stage of designing this kind of ecosystem architecture for them. And in the offing are several other ecosystems that I mentioned here: rural development, smart cities, and employment and logistics. Yeah. So this is how it is. And the last couple of slides to conclude my talk is about what are the challenges again. Very often, immediate supersedes important. What I need to do, my boss tells me, no, tomorrow you show me the result, or next week you should. So I run after immediate priorities rather than what is, because I have no time to sit and think and coolly about 1 year, 10 years, 5 years horizon. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's every day's my experience, everybody's experience. Immediate task of the day we try to do first, and then think of long term later. So that's the bane. That is one problem. And lack of capabilities, architectural capabilities, like Professor Moni was telling. These basic concepts, the holistic approach, the ecosystem approach, there's no technology in understanding those things. It should be there in every stream of life, right from high school onwards. That awareness of the importance of the bigger picture, the architectural vision, the need of an ecosystem, openness, standards, right? They need to go into every school, every faculty, right? Then obviously it is mainstream. It has become part of our life, and the digital transformation and ecosystem will be a reality. Then procurement also, the age-old rules of procurement may have to be changed. Then resistance to organizational transformation. There are Western interests or people who are status quo minded. They will always keep by kuch nahi hota. Nothing will happen. Don't worry. You do your job as usual. So such negative. I would not say negative, but some kind of resistance to huge change, the disruption. I'm afraid of what the new world will look like, right? The fear of change. That is one of the challenges, and hesitation in trying out new business model because financial involvement is there. कहीं ना कुछ हो जाए तो बाद में मेरे सर के ऊपर आ जाता है. So that kind of concerns also inhibit bold new models being developed currently. And in terms of opportunities, the COVID, whatever damage it has done, unmeasurable, immeasurable damage it has done to the whole world. But little 10% positiveness is now we are moving towards paperless, presence-less, and cashless scenario by default. Then second area is ecosystem architecture. Several digital public platforms that I mentioned in the previous slides, they are getting built, and also we are talking of India ecosystem architecture, a generic architecture which will hold for public, private, across sectors is being done. You can customize it to your own need and go forward very quickly. So these are the advancements happening at this point. We're talking of digital ecosystems there, national digital ecosystems. Then emerging technology is very important, artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, etc. So we need to exploit these opportunities. Currently, I'm also chief advisor in the World Economic Forum. And the job of one of the wings, which is C for IR, is to focus on how to use these emerging technologies, deploy them in a responsible manner for benefiting the humanity, but while exploiting the positive side and while mitigating the negative side of all this. There is a flip side to every technology, as you know, not only security and privacy, but several other dimensions. The harms that can happen if that technology is misused. How do you overcome that? That's the job the World Economic Forum is engaged in, and I'm kind of involved in that exercise as well. But very importantly, the emerging technologies have tremendous potential and power which you need to, going forward in these ecosystems, we have to make it mainstream, these emerging technologies into the ecosystems that we are going to design. Like nobody thought that these mobile smartphones would be mainstream of governance and administration 20 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, but they are in the mainstream today. Likewise, emerging technologies should be mainstream so that you stand to gain a lot. So, end of the day, I'm just one thing, we may have everything, all the resources, technologies, process, infrastructure resources, but is adding up to zero. But what adds immense value is the leadership and vision that we should have as individuals, as organizations, as responsible citizens of this country, as leaders of this country. So we can provide leadership in our own jurisdiction, in our own way, and contribute to the, the whole zeros becoming big numbers by this one, right? So without this one, rest of it is immaterial. You should have this vision and leadership if you have to make a difference. So with that, I'll close and thank you all. So I request Professor Moni to take over.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very innovative and, as I said, in that galvanizing address to the audience. And I strongly feel that, this will lead to, emergence of lot of startups in the country. And the reason for that, the title which I have given, Open Source Digital Technology Towards Self-Reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. I thought that I was, Today you talked about a lot of issues, challenges, opportunities, and transformations and so on and so forth. You remember that we initiated a training program for NIC SNT officers in April 2013. And 4 programs you launched online in different parts, and I prepared as the Deputy Director General Human Resources Development for NIC. We brought out the brochures there, and you also released it, if you recall, that e-governance is not clearly website creation. And it needs a lot of other technological implications, including management, legal issues, and IPR, and so on and so forth. We identified about something like 45 areas where that officers have to be trained. To start with, all the NIC officers should be trained within 6 months. That was the views which was taken. But after I retired as a Director General NIC in May, I don't know what has happened, but I thought that that is more important. Like today, you talked about that even village level officers to be trained on e-governance, they don't understand that. And I thought that I took all those things and converted as an academic program. The reason for establishing Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications is to teach informatics and e-governance with the standards. Our computer science discipline doesn't talk about standards. Engineering discipline talks about standards. You take mechanical engineering, you take electrical engineering, you take electronics engineering, you have architectures. They go by architecture, engineering, and construction. We talked about software engineering, but afterwards, your information technology and computer science courses, they prepare people how to code, nothing else that. And e-governance is not like that. Even many people don't even know how to write an RFP. A computer science student after 4 years, if he cannot even understand and also to give a prescription like a doctor after seeing the patient, if an MBBS doctor gives a prescription, but a computer science student after 4 years, either from IIT or from IIIT or from any other institution, they cannot give any prescriptions. An RFP document preparation for an organization is a very important thing that has to be as a training to the computer science students, which is not happening. So then I thought that this center should motivate and train rural students in the area of informatics and e-governance through standards. And I have developed an MTech level program to retrain all BE, BTech students, for amenable for e-governance program in the country. And also it can, government officers from any levels with appropriate gradings, they can, education, they can get trained. And also, certificate program and disciplines and diplomas and post diplomas. I think that I'm very happy that today with your, address, that 4 years back when I, visualized with the, the support of the management, the chancellor of the university, I think this is going to be a very important thing. Then Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Application. Now I thought that now the government has announced, this has, talked that I delivered a talk on digital SME in 2005 at Madras Institute of Technology, Cropate. And I have been always thinking that we have got 4,500 urban clusters of SMEs, 18,000 rural clusters of SMEs, and there are a lot of KVIC industries, village level industries. They also should get computerization, digitalization. And I talked about at that time digital SMEs, and it has put it in a lot of websites and so on and so forth. And then when one company from Singapore wanted to introduce Industry 4.0 in 2016 on Industry 4.0, they invited me to deliver a talk. I recalled my talk, on those days in 2005, and then this, company for, with industry participation, the Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Application has been established to concentrate only on SMEs in the country. You know, that MBA in Industry 4.0, which we would like to propagate for SMEs, because if SMEs are trained on this one, Industry 4.0 will be automatic. So that's why this series, Open Source Digital Technology to Self-Reliant India, is to concentrate on how to create startups in open source technology. And that today your address will motivate a lot of people. Second one is that I'm very much happy and satisfied with your national digital health blueprint. But I would like to put by one request, that in the Doubling the Farmers' Income by 2022 committee report, I was associated for 2 subcommittees as chairman. And the volume 12B talks about digital technology in agriculture, and volume 11 is on agriculture extension and ICTs. In this digital technology for agriculture, we have come out with 7 mission mode projects. In the node in agriculture, my request will be, you as being the chair, chairman of that committee, that the 7 mission mode projects, if it is given importance, our Indian agriculture will be digitalized like anything with appropriate architecture. And then when I was invited for a meeting with the Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Tomarji, and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh in his house on 13th October, along with another 12 experts. I have made a presentation because I have submitted a discussion paper on the recent agricultural reforms legislation, which came on 5th June. And every word has been analyzed, and I conducted a lot of seminars, webinars, and submitted the discussion paper. And I told them that when we introduced IT in agriculture, I traced from 1987 Disney period and 95 and IT in agriculture blueprint. We didn't have a legislative support. Now you have a legislative support of 2 ordinances, forming as a solution where all digital technology in agriculture can go. First ordinance, e-commerce platform. Now with the 2 ordinance and the 7 mission mode project, we can create 1 agri startup in every Gram Panchayat. That means it can lead to 2.25, agri startups with IT in the country to help 14 crore farmers. And national database on farmer is important. Like you have created a health identifier, and I put it as a note to the Agriculture Ministry when Mr. Patnaik was the secretary, that this is a national database with a comprehensive parameter on 14 crore farmers is a must. Here you have to have a farmer identifier like you have created for a health identifier, and because of the various other restrictions with Aadhaar. Then in the 7th one, the last one, I would like to get associated with the health one. We talked about integrated farm health management, farmer health, plant health, soil health, animal health, water health, and fishery health. Because these are all agricultural food systems, and 85% of the disease, the human gets it from animal. COVID situation is from coronavirus, is from animal. So until unless we created a One Health and Eco Health, getting human health, plant health, animal health, soil health, we got about more than 14 crores, soil health record digitalized. And then the, water health, we don't have appropriate water health data. And then the fisheries health. If we can have an integrated health information system, which I have been voicing, and that's the reason only this has been put it. If along with the national health blueprint, if this is also is incorporated, it will be your ecosystem architecture for national, the health transformation will be, but this will be the first country. And when I presented in the International Livestock Research Institute, one regional conference, everybody looked at it that I think this is very important, and India can take a lead. And your national health digital blueprint, if it is included, it means that Doubling the Farmers' Income Committee report recommendation gets for operationalization. So these are all my recommendations with the ecosystem architecture for digital transformation. And these 2 centers and another 2 centers for agriculture. Center for Agricultural Informatics E-Governance Research Studies, which gives MTech in agriculture. It is the first private university in the whole world. And also the, in India, and, to talk about agricultural informatics as a discipline, and devised the MTech program and PG diploma to retrain all agriculture science graduates and BTech B engineering graduates who got rural development, agriculture development as a discipline. And then Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies with the MBA in Business Management. So one is for agricultural as a totality, as my pet area, and I thought that agriculture, rural development is India. It's a primary thing which it has been shown, and all the 400 agriculture commodities value chain which we suggested, if this is digitalized, I think this is India. Nobody can stop us, and farmers can have. It is not doubling the farmers' income; it is an income revolution will take place with the digital transformation. That is an important thing. And I today, I'm very, very happy that and first is that I should thank you. You agreed to deliver the talk, and the talk is very important for the following reasons. It has got educational relevance, academic research relevance, and skill development relevance, entrepreneurship development relevance, and also that area development relevance at the grassroots level, and value creation relevance with the value systems. Value creation is more important, and open innovations and net in the value creation networks are more important in the digitalized world for self-reliant India. And today, you have given the, you have laid the, foundation stone, and we'll be very happy with your association and your blessing. The Sobit Institute of Engineering and Technology deemed to be university will proceed for again in promoting informatics e-governance, for ecosystem architecture for digital transformation in the rural area. So thank you very much for your participation, spending time with us today. And your address will be available in YouTube, and I will also send the link to you. And many research students will take it up as an research area for their study. And this is what it is happening in every webinar series. And thank you very much. And I also will be very happy to continuously get associated with our activities in the university through these two centers. Thank you, Satyanarayana, very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all the viewers. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thanks all the viewers. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks for your participation. Greeting from Sobit University. For more research inquiries, please contact me, Professor Moni Madaswamy, Professor Emeritus and Chairman, CIDSA and CITSA, and former Director General, National Informatics Center, Government of India, New Delhi. My email address is moni@sobituniversity.ac.in. Thank you very much. We close the session.